Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Travel Coach, moving body, mind, and spirit. My guest today is the founder of Matthews and Partners, a woman who traveled around the world intensively. She's an MBA from the Open University in the UK, where she lived and studied before returning to work in Czech Republic, where she lives now. She defines herself as someone who enjoys the challenge of responding to an ever-changing and demanding environment, finding creative solutions to practical problems. She's devoted to enabling her clients to exceed their goals, which also includes offering bespoke services to help them find the property of their dreams in Spain. Lenka Matthews, welcome to the Travel Coach.
Hello, and thank you so much for your warm welcome. I'm really touched that you have chosen me to be your guest. So thank you so much, Sonia, for inviting me. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, Lenka. You're so welcome. So if you want to get started, I would like just to set up the scene. If you can tell us more about growing up, your relationship with travel, what are your memories in that stage?
When I was little, we were traveling with my parents always for 2-3 weeks holiday to the sea, but it was usually summer holiday. And then when I was a bit older, we took few trips with my friends. Again, it was like a holiday from work. So it was like ordinary being on the beach, maybe exploring a bit in pieces, but it was basically nothing like in the proper traveling language. So it was just rest myself lying on the beach and reading a book.
So we are talking when you were a teenager, or until what age was that?
That was basically until I was 23, because my experience when I hit 23 and decided to quit the job and move abroad was probably the decision which has changed my life forever.
Okay, and it was something that triggered that. Why when you were 23? What happened there?
I broke up with my boyfriend.
That always happens.
So that was one of the things, and I was like, I need to change something, and I can't stay in Prague. I really need to do something. And my colleague at the time when I used to work for Tesco, she kept telling me, you need to go and live abroad to have an experience, to learn properly the language. And I was really resisting. I was super scared because my English at the time was more passive than active. And I thought, I can't travel, I can't speak the language. And she really pushed me. So I started to search the solutions and options for myself. Well, options and solutions. And so I wanted to study English in the UK. And then it happened that she introduced me to one of her friends, and she had an agency. And through the agency, we connected with Caroline, and she had 2 boys, and she was a single mom. So we kind of really connected online emails and phone calls at the time. And yes, within the 2 months, I was sitting on a plane from Prague to Heathrow. And I still remember the moment when the steward came to ask me if I want anything to drink. And she's obviously spoken English. And at the time I was like, oh, fuck. And this is like,
That's real. That's happening.
It's actually, yeah, it was like, it's real. It's happening. So what do I do? And then honestly, the magic of flying somewhere within Europe is that you usually take 2 to 3 hours. So within 2 hours, I landed in London. And basically you are in completely different world and in completely different culture. And then you're standing there and then 2 little boys are kind of running to welcome you. And then you are like, oh my God, what have I done? So that was that is still very vivid memory.
So you explained here lots of things, right? So first of all, this friend, wise advice, by the way, telling you have to go, you have to travel. Is this your moment? And she connected you and you eventually make this happen. But what were the challenges that at that moment? You just said that language was a big one. I understand. Language was a big problem.
I suppose there was the language, and also I never ever traveled alone. I was either traveling with my parents or with somebody. And it was all of a sudden me being on a plane, traveling somewhere where I'd never been before. I was not confident that I speak the language, so I was really scared. Obviously, I had, some knowledge, but I'm perfectionist in a way. So I was like, oh my God, if I don't understand that, and if I don't understand it. So this was the challenge, kind of being alone. And I decided basically when Caroline actually said that she lives in Shepparton, I didn't know anybody obviously in there either. So it was like, really starting your life from scratch somewhere where you've never been before.
It's a new
And
phase.
working through the first days, where you kind of still translating Czech into English, and it took a while before, like first 3 weeks, I remember I had constant headaches because I was translating back and forth in order to get through my days. So that is something I still remember, and I'm really pleased that we are still in touch with Caroline. The boys are currently 23 and 22, so this makes me feel old on one hand, because I saw them as a little boys. But it's something which really, like, I remember you asked me a while ago, what would happen if I wouldn't make that decision? And I generally, I can't imagine, because this is the life I lived since then, but it will be ultimately completely different life.
Yeah, I can understand totally. So the fear, right? Fear of unknown, fear of a totally new phase new chapter you were starting, not being able to predict what will be the next day or the next month, more than the few things that you knew. But how, for those people who maybe are listening or are in this situation that they want to take this step, but they feel this fear, what do you remember? What did you do to overcome? What positive thoughts you were saying to yourself, or some people help you, encourage you? How did you eventually overcome this fear?
I think that the decision to change something and to leave and start fresh somewhere was probably stronger than the fear. And then I generally think that I'm this kind of person who, when you decide, then I go for it, although I'm scared. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it feels that I can make the decision much faster. But then ultimately I knew that I will be with Caroline and boys, so it was not like, obviously I didn't know her, but at least there was somebody waiting for me kind of holding my hand, the first few steps. And then also, along the fear, I was super excited. So there was a fear and excitement at the same time.
So you kind of focus on what you knew, what you could control, what excited you, and feel the fear and do it anyway, is what I hear, yeah?
Yes, but then at the time I was probably not thinking about it this way, because when you're 23, obviously there is probably different way of how you work through fears, and not as probably consciously as I would do it now.
Okay.
And also I remember thinking I have nothing to lose. I didn't have my own children. I was not in a relationship. I felt that after 7 years working with, and for Tesco with all the team, because I was workaholic, so I was working long hours. I didn't know anything except work. So I felt like I'm ready to start exploring, some world which is probably out there. But I didn't think through, what will happen after I get there. I just, so ultimately I flew in, and this is where it started. And then you basically need to take day by day and face whatever is coming forward. But what I found out at the time is, because I was really humble, and I don't mind asking questions and asking for help. And I have to say that I was really blessed by meeting people who were really kind to me and really supportive. Not to mention that Caroline was really making my life easy at the beginning, explaining everything, driving me around, and introducing me to her friends and the neighbors. So that was really beautiful.
Yeah. Sometimes we imagine things that to be like super bad, and everybody, is in this journey helping each other, and we are positively
I think
surprised.
that if you are humble enough, and you don't expect that everyone will run around you, but you obviously are kind and appreciating things, then I rarely had an experience, even with my later travels, that people would not help. I always found somebody to be able to help me.
That's very good. Thank you for sharing that. So we arrived to the UK. You were explaining that you meet these two boys and all this new life. What was the culture, the shock between the cultures from Czech Republic to the UK? Do you remember what was the most surprising or the most that you was like, oh my God?
Well, I definitely found British people, even though some people say that this is like a British politeness, but I found them more open to talk. And, you know, even on the street, I had people smiling and welcoming, and, you know, maybe it was small talk, but to me, people in the Czech Republic are a little bit more close. It has changed since then. But at the time, for me, like the willingness of people to interact with me and, you know, to support me was not probably cultural shock, but I was nicely surprised. And then, you know, with my daily routines, walking boys to school, I met, you know, news agents people and people in the shops waving at me in the morning. And, you know, I'm this kind of person. I love connected. I love I love communicating with people. So it's really fit my nature. But at the beginning, I was just like, oh, it's like interaction was almost and then also it was interesting that people were actually keen to learn, you know, where I am from, and, you know, what is our culture, and local habits, and what's our favorite food. Some people didn't know that we are not, you know, at the time we were not already Czechoslovakia, so it was explaining a little bit what was happening historically, but it was beautiful. I had obviously few not really nice experiences, but compared to the ones which were really, really empowering, it was amazing.
Yeah, we also have bad experience in our own countries and in our cities. So it's life, right? So it's about the balance. So you were saying before that this trip or this experience really changed you. What would you say are the main benefits or the main learnings, or what has brought to your life that is so powerful?
You know what? You are, at the end of the day, you are alone in the country, and you have to look after yourself. You have to build a new friendships, new network. You have to learn basically everything from scratch. And I've been through situations like I had to drive my boys to emergency in the hospital. I was, you know, quite often, because Caroline was traveling, I was often with boys by myself. So what I learned is, you know, even more is to ask for help, is to be really humble. It's not a problem that you're not going to say it correctly grammatically, but you are able to express yourself. I obviously learned the language, and I learned that the whole experience gave me wings to fly and the freedom. It really empowered me for the rest of my life. I built friendships, and I will never ever forget this experience. Really, it's, you know, obviously there are situations where you feel super uncomfortable. There are situations like, for example, I went to school first day, and they decided that my English, at the time I thought it's rubbish. They said, okay, it's actually really good, and they moved me to the class with English people. And I came home and I was crying. I said, Caroline, I can't do that because they all speak English. This is their natural, you know, language. And then she was like, no, you can do it, and I'm going to help you. So seriously, I was going to school with English people because my English, they thought, was better than I thought. So I also realized how much we are underestimating ourselves and how critical we are to ourselves. So that was probably, you know, one of the, let's say, key experiences. But the language and the freedom and the willing, you know, the hunger to travel more, because I felt more confident after the trip. When I came home, I was like, okay. And then Prague felt really different. You know, it was actually probably easier for me to move away than move back.
That's the magic of traveling.
It is a magic, yeah.
Beautiful. So you felt more empowered to travel more, and you started to travel more.
I started to travel more, yes.
So tell us more about these trips to Spain, because I know this was transformational for you. What happened?
It was because, like, in London, I also started to feel like it was my second home. And when people were where are you feeling more home? And I'm like, this is really difficult for me to decide now. And so with more and more traveling, I was discovering more places, more cultures. And one of the places I've traveled back in 2000, 10 was actually Spain. And, you know, the first time I arrived, I only saw shopping centers and airports and hotel rooms. But ultimately, I had the opportunity to meet local people. And I just fell in love in the culture. I fell in love with the lifestyle. And obviously later on I started Latin dancing, so the dancing for me was, it was another thing. The food is delicious, so what not to love about Spain? And that was my first trip, and then a few more trips followed. I was also traveling there with my close friend. We spent 10 days traveling, along the coast, and I had so many beautiful experiences. Also, I experienced some culture shocks because Spanish people stay late and they eat dinner late. So when we felt around 7 o'clock in the evening that we are ready for dinner, we learned that there's nothing much open really, or we were sitting there alone without the whole beautiful atmosphere. So it was just like it was another place where I started to feel really strongly connected. And at the time I was connecting what I thought when I was 25, that I would want to have a house on the beach, working and traveling from there, or partially living there, and enjoying the environment, the culture, and all that what is basically locally really available.
So you were saying in your first trip to Spain, you felt like it was something special about it, the culture, the dancing, the food. Was this in your first trip, or because you said that you were only seeing shopping centers? How this happened?
Sorry, I realized that my headphones, and this is what happens when you are preparing and over preparing. Perfectly imperfect. So I'm hoping that you will hear me as well this way.
Yeah.
I fell in love. I mean, first trip was to Madrid, and then it was Malaga, and then actually end of 2019, me and my friend, my very close friend Ellen, who is actually currently based in London, we both felt, the passion for Spain. So we decided that we are going to take a road trip. And we traveled from Barcelona to Valencia and a little bit down the coast. And we have planned nothing. We didn't plan for the hotels, nothing. We just said, let's play by ear and let's find, what location will suits us to have our house in Spain. And we both inclined to be more in the local environment because we appreciate the local culture. So obviously I started to learn Spanish. Don't ask me to say anything because I will be too scared.
No, we want to shift to Spanish.
So I still need to learn the language because I generally think that if you travel and you are traveling somewhere more often, it's worth to learn the language. You have a different understanding of the local culture. You are more humble and you can communicate with local people. I think it's kind of also expressing your seriousness and maybe willingness to the local
your interest in knowing them. Yeah, that's totally true.
So, and the people open and communicate differently when you're not just, coming across like, okay, you either speak English or I'm not talking to you. So I actually usually say that at the moment I speak Czech, English, and body language I consider as a language because there are many situations. It is universal. And then I'm learning Spanish and obviously understand Slovakia and Polish, but that's not, but body language I consider as a very powerful language and smile. Body language and smile can get you through quite a lot.
Wow, that's amazing. So in this trip, you were already looking for to fulfill your dreams, is what I understand.
Yes, that was definitely the intention, to send the universe the message that we are ready.
So you both were decided that you will have your house because this was your dream, was your vision few years ago, and you decided that would be Spain. You felt it. Can you explain in another way that it's a feeling? How could you express that?
I think that there are some feelings, like even when, for example, when I was first time in London, for me it was very natural to get around, and the very similar feeling I had in Spain. Like you feel this in your bones. It is, I don't know how to explain it. It's just you probably feel when you feel somewhere really well, even with people, places, you just feel this inner, like, but when you fall in love, it's probably butterflies, but I mean, you just feel different within, and you just really are enjoying yourself, feel comfortable, feel free, enjoying everything what is around you. So I think it's the inner fire which starts to burn when you click and connect with something.
You explain is like the same kind of way when you connect with somebody. When you meet a person from first time, that you have this, I like it or I don't like it, without not even maybe sharing a conversation yet, but it's something that is intangible. It's it's not maybe irrational.
Yeah, I think that it would be, I don't know. It's sometimes I think that when we involve too much thinking, then it's not the feeling, it's the rational thinking. And I think that we are, well, at least I used to be master in trying to figure out everything by my mind, but sometimes I think that you need to follow your heart. And your heart will sometimes, well, not sometimes, it's usually always tells you, but we forget to listen, and we try to overthink, why is that, and trying to analyze it. But I don't think that sometimes you need to analyze it that much. Sometimes you just need to let your feelings come forward.
Yeah, that's something that we need to do more, definitely, everybody. Okay, so you were in Spain with your friend, trying to find this idea or how to fulfill this vision. Did you find it? How eventually this trip finished?
Well, we basically said that we are planting the seeds. This every action we take intentionally, it's planting the seeds. And we said, let's see what will come forward. And then when I was back in the Czech Republic, and I met my business partner, all of a sudden through our conversation, we both said, we are both actually passionate about Spain, and we were saying like, well, and we have the experience in real estate, and we were, talking, and as the claim for our business was coming forward, solutions beyond all borders, we immediately connected that it can be actually not, beyond the borders of us being really focused on finding the right solution and flexible solution, but it can be actually beyond the borders of the Czech Republic, because we are both super international people and love to be part of the international community. And this is how we started to form, that we can actually help and support people who are having a dream like us, want to partially or fully live in Spain, and they would need to find somebody who can actually help them to do so. So this is how it came forward. And sometimes, again, when you are trying to find something super hard, it's not coming forward, and sometimes it just comes out of ordinary conversation. So I think it's again, sometimes just connecting the dots, and as Steve Jobs was always saying, you can't connect them looking forward, you will always connect them looking backwards. And this is where it started, basically.
You follow like the breadcrumbs, one brings you to the other and the other and the other. That's incredible. So what started as a personal dream, personal vision, then you find another person who you had this shared dream, this shared vision, and together you took the action, you were there, and now you're not only fulfilling on the direction of fulfilling your dreams, but also helping everybody else who's in this same vision, which is not few people, because who does not want to live in Spain? Yeah,
I know, but I think that ultimately, I think that there are different people with different vision and different dreams. So some people might live, want to spend just a short time. Some people will want to have a long-term rent. Some people wants to buy a house. Some people wants to buy apartments. Some, it's really specific. So we are also really focused on making sure that we are very much tailoring, the search specifically to the dream of the person as much as we can.
Yeah. So it's with this common denominator, and then tailor it and bespoke for everybody's situation, circumstances, feelings, and I understand. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, Lenka. So did you
because they might be some people who are scared, and I just generally want to make sure that they overcome the fear or some hesitation on maybe not knowing the local market that well, or maybe not speaking the language that great. And because I beyond borders, it's really beyond borders within ourselves as much as the physical borders. That's why I love the claim, and that's why the claim so much resonates with us.
Yeah, I know, I totally resonate with the message as well. As a travel coach, I help not only to go beyond borders, also with the mindset part, which is a huge part of traveling. That we are trying to create these inspiring stories here. So I totally get this both, external and internal. Eventually, the experiences are in the intersection of the internal and the external world. So yeah, that's amazing. Is there?
And I generally, and I wanted to say that if
Mhm.
I probably knew at the time when I was 23 that something like travel coach exists, and it was not probably existing at the time, because you were telling me last time when we were doing interview for LinkedIn that it's a relatively new discipline. I think that I would probably benefit and learn from my trips much more. Because again, I didn't know a lot, so I was learning as I was basically traveling more and more. But if I could, because I'm this kind of person who asks for help, someone who knows the field. So if I at the time could have a travel coach, I would definitely go for it, because there are many things which I could have done differently. Although I believe that we learn from our experiences, but again, just directing me towards the right thinking about the travel and what could potentially be more enhancing in terms of the experience, learning, and connecting with the local people, it would be definitely something which I would go for.
Okay, I really appreciate that, and I think you're right. So I think nowadays people is hesitating to ask for help. I don't know why. It's like we kind of connected with being weak or not being independent or good enough, or if I ask for help means I cannot do it myself, and it's not about that. So it's about not knowing what we don't know, allowing to have this help, because we deserve as well to have been supported in our journeys and open to the world. So that's really appreciate that you share that, Lenka.
I remember that when I remember that I was born with the gift. I didn't see it as a gift at the time, but the older I get, the more I consider it as a gift, is that I don't hesitate to ask for help or question. And I remember many times that I was, in the meeting room or when I was studying MBA, raising my hand and asking the question, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to look stupid, but I have to ask because I seriously don't know. And I had many schoolmates or colleagues afterwards telling me like, oh my God, I'm so grateful that you asked, because I didn't know either. And I generally think that even if you ask bad question or stupid question, you might consider it that way, but I think that there is no other way to learn properly if you don't ask questions on subjects you don't understand.
It's the way we learn. Talking to ourselves, we are not going to learn. Other people will tell us what we don't know. Is the only way.
And this is I mean, watch the children. What the children do? They asking questions all the time.
Yeah.
To the point that you are kind of unable to answer the question because you are thinking, oh my God, I don't know.
Yes.
But they are very persistent and asking questions. So that's something which is really natural. But we lost the gift. But this is super, super powerful. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Totally. Somehow in the way we lose this confidence, or it's crazy.
And seriously, who cares if you look stupid at the time? If you get what you want, if you learn something more, somebody else can think you stupid, fair.
Yeah. But nobody will remember eventually.
Exactly.
That's totally true. Oh my God. Amazing, Lenka. Just I'm watching here, time flies. So we are...
You told me that. I was scared for 30 minutes, but it's so amazing to talking to someone like you, Sonia. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We are coming just to the end of the interview, and you know that I love collecting, hidden gems from all around the world. So I want to ask you, from your town or region, what's the place or the area that you will recommend, that maybe it's not that famous or that touristic, but if we go there, we must go and see what that could be?
Well, it really depends what the person is looking for, because as you know, everyone is really different. Someone is looking for clubbing, someone is looking for nature, but the place I really hold, in my heart, it's not that hidden, and it's probably in some guides, but it's Vyšehrad. It's a place where there is a very famous cemetery, but there is also a beautiful park, and there is a beautiful view to Prague.
Wow. Okay.
And my mentor, when I was 19 and I met her first time, she told me at the time very wise advice. If you are having some difficulties or you are stressed, just go somewhere uphill, because when you look down, the world looks really small. And from this place you can beautifully see, and it has a magical energy. So I really love this place quite a lot.
Say the name again.
Vyšehrad.
Okay, we will afterwards. I feel so curious. But that's amazing, the perspective. Yeah, to put things into perspective when you are in the top of a hill. That's amazing advice.
And it was the advice I got when I was 19, and I can't tell you how many times I was climbing uphill. Just because I felt like if I look down, everything which is worrying me at this moment or any tough decisions I was facing, it looks really tiny.
Yeah,
and
so
the top of the
it's
world. So maybe for people who want to travel, a part of working with you as a travel coach, they should climb somewhere uphill.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath and see that anything which is below them is super tiny, and they will always manage.
Beautiful. Amazing. Thank you, Lenka. I love that. Just to finish, last but not least, if anybody wants to contact you, if anybody is looking for moving to Spain or any of the amazing services you offer, how they can contact you?
They can reach me via LinkedIn, Lenka Matthews, or we have our web pages, matthews-partners.com. What else? And we have Facebook and Instagram, so they can search and text us through that as well. And if anyone is really kind of struggling to make the decision whether to travel and have this brilliant experience, I'm more than happy to support them as well.
Amazing.
Because I still remember my friend, at the time colleague, where she was really pushing for me to travel. So I'm eternally grateful that I did at the time, because seriously, as I said, my life would be probably completely different. So yeah, I gain the biggest gift I could for myself, and that's freedom.
We always need this supporting people around us who is encouraging us and believing us more than even ourselves.
Exactly.
And that's the story you explained. That's amazing, Lenka. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. You're sharing these stories, empowered stories, and inspiring stories. And I want to say goodbye to everybody also tuning in, and wishing you a happy and safe travel as soon as we can travel again. Happy and safe travel. And thank you, Lenka. Thank you very much for
Sonia, my intention is to be in Spain together with Mason in May. So as they say, no matter what we see in front of us, the universe is rearranging. So I'm really grateful for everything what's happening right now. And hopefully we will be able to travel. And I hope that I will see you soon in person as well. I'm really, really grateful for you inviting me to your podcast. And I'm hoping that we will be connected soon again to share some new experiences. I'm more than happy to support anyone who wants to work with you and who is now about taking the decision to start traveling and considering travel from a completely different perception.
Totally. Thank you, Lenka, very much again. Really appreciate it. I send you lots
Much
of love.
Thank
All
you.
the way to Prague. Bye, Lenka.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Sonia. Thank you. Bye-bye.